I'm Maggie Ostara, and I will tell you a little bit more about myself in just a minute. But I want us to go ahead and just dive right into what our topic is today. And it is 5 keys to greater visibility and recognition so that you can create the income you deserve and the impact you have always wanted. So I want to start out by just asking you, do you ever feel like you're lost in the crowd? That somehow, whatever it is that you're doing in your life, you just really haven't figured out how to stand out. And do you ever feel like the best kept secret? I've worked with lots of clients who have felt really like, I'm really good at what I do. My clients get incredible results. My students love the material that I share. And yet somehow I still go on feeling like I'm the best kept secret. I haven't really been able to break out and get to the level of visibility, recognition, notoriety. I love that word. Notoriety, excuse me, impact or income that I know is really possible for me. So I just want you to know, if any of this is true, it's really not your fault. There's 2 different things that we're going to look at today. One is, how long have you been living in alignment with your human design? Since we are on the Quantum Alignment Show, I'm going to assume that those of you who are here are at least familiar with human design to some degree. I would imagine a number of you have had your charts and have had readings done, but if you haven't, it's fine. You'll be able to follow along today. But one of the premises that I have for these becoming more visible and gaining more recognition for yourself is, in fact, being able to live in alignment with your design. Plus, if you are someone who has a business, if you're self-employed, if you're a practitioner, if you're a teacher, if somehow you have your own business, how much business training have you had? Lots of people have not had very much. And so if you're not really standing out, you're not being seen, not getting the visibility or recognition that you want, it may have to do with the fact that you just have never been taught how to create that. So I just want you to know, it is your responsibility now that you know, if you want to have a successful practice or business, or if you just want to increase your income and your impact, whatever your profession is, whatever your business is, or if you're a creative person, if you're an author or an artist, and that may not be the main way that you make money, but you want to have more of that. You want to be able to create more income, or you want to have more impact. You do need to have a sense of how business works and how marketing works. And one of the things that I'm known for is being able to help people who are kind of allergic to marketing and allergic to business building be able to find an inroad into that so that they can really flourish with bringing their gifts, talents, skills, and life experience into the world. So I'm going to share some of that with you today. So I want you to imagine for a moment, if you had all of the recognition and all of the visibility and all of the income and the impact that you really wanted. Okay, I just want you to imagine for a moment, what would that be like? What would you be able to do? What could you provide for your family? What projects and causes could you support in your community and in the world? And what impact could you have? What could you really do with your life if you had, kind of mastered this particular challenge that you have? So just take a moment, take a breath, and just imagine that, and go ahead and just make some comments in the chat. We'll come back to that later. And just see, because it's helpful to open up the field of possibility for you right at the beginning, just allowing yourself to expand a little bit into imagining what could be possible for you. How would your life change? How would your life be different? Okay, so I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. So I'm Maggie Ostara. I do have a PhD. I have had a number of different careers over the last few decades, last three and a half decades. And my first one was as a professor at Columbia University. I was a women's studies professor. And then I left that career. And I have been really self-employed ever since then. I've had a series of different businesses. I was in network marketing, in the healing arts for a while. I became a clarity breathwork practitioner and trainer. I trained breathworkers, which is a form of spiritual healing that is very deep and impactful and just really, really juicy in terms of being able to connect with the heart, being able to connect with your soul self, and be able to embrace and expand into who you really are. And then I became a business coach for people in the healing arts, people in the transformative fields. I did a lot of teaching and a lot of coaching. And then I took some time off to really connect with myself. And frankly, I burned myself out. I burned myself out a number of different times. And now I understand why I did that. Now that I have my human design, I know why I burned myself out. I know how I did it. I kept acting like a manifestor because after all of us have been trained to be manifestors in this culture, right? So that was what I was doing. Excuse me, I'm just getting over the flu. But I'm a generator, okay? I'm not even a manifesting generator. I'm a generator with an undefined throat. And so I was going out and making lots of things happen, but I was working against my human design. So I had a fair bit of success. I mean, I created a multiple six-figure coaching business for several years and worked with people, thousands of people all over the world and had big coaching programs and all of that. But I really, really burned myself out. And so when I found human design, really everything changed. I've been living very, very differently in my life now, really living in response to what comes up in my outer reality, really using my strategy. And it's been phenomenal. Things have really changed. I'm now a certified level 3 human design specialist working with Karen. And training to get to level 4. And I just love human design. And in the past, I had developed a body of work called Your Soul Signature, Discover Your Soul Signature. And I'm going to share some of that with you today. And then I'm also going to combine it with insights from human design. And there's quite a bit of information here. I'm going to do my best to get through it and to have it be accessible to you. I am going to provide you with a free gift if you would like it that will give you some of this material that you can then go and take and work with on your own. And I'll come back to that later because it is quite in-depth. And the thing I just want to say to you now that it really is possible to change patterns, behaviors, ways of being in the world, different things that have been occurring for you your entire life. I have done this in my own life. I have done it with clients, many, 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 hundreds of clients at this point. And so I want to inspire you to know that wherever you're at, whatever your experience has been up until now, it really is possible for you to change and evolve, come more in alignment with your human design, discover what your soul signature has to provide you with, and to live with greater ease, greater impact, greater income, greater ways of just taking care of yourself, more sustainability. That's been a huge learning for me, is how to live more sustainably and how to work more sustainably. All of that really is possible when you connect with your human design and your soul signature. Okay. So key number 1, I talked about these 5 keys, right? And so key number 1 is to identify and clear any inner blocks and resistance to visibility. So this is an inside job, and there's a lot really here today that's going to be about the inside job for you to become more visible and to gain more recognition and to create more income and more impact. So we're going to start right here with the place where a lot of us have blocks and resistance to becoming visible, even though we also long for more visibility. It's a very interesting push me, pull you that we can feel on the inside. Because frankly, visibility, even though we long for it, can be quite scary. So I want to ask you, do you have a bushel over your head? Do you ever feel like no matter where you are, people don't see you the way that you want to be seen, or the way that you think that you could be, or maybe in certain situations, you just feel like, whatever it is, I'm not being seen. So take a breath, just think about that for a moment, and realize that if you do, it's because it's something that you've created, or it's a way that you're being in the world. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about both of those pieces and what you can do about that. So the inner reason for this is conditioning from your epigenetics. I know Karen has been teaching a lot about epigenetics on the Quantum Alignment Show for, the last few months. And so your epigenetics, which is what you inherit from 14 generations of your family, your own early life experience, right? Particularly between birth and age 7, or really conception and age 7. And then also other lifetimes, what you bring in with you from other lifetimes through your soul's journey. And so there can be conditioning that visibility is dangerous. And the truth is that there have been lots of time in history in which visibility was dangerous, depending on who you were, what your culture was, whether you were living in a culture where, your religion, for example, or your culture was different than the dominant culture. It might be really have been dangerous to be visible. Or for, there have been a lot of times when for a woman to really step forward in her full power was dangerous. We've had a lot of history of women being, persecuted and controlled and killed because of their power and stepping up and speaking up and really bringing their gifts and talents to the world. So if you have this sense inside of you, there are really good historical reasons why that is the case. I don't want to discount that in any way. For example, if you have a Jewish background, there can be, a reason for that. There's lots of different reasons why this might be so. So a place that you can look for this in your human design is in the spleen. Okay, so the spleen is the center for intuition, for the immune system, but also for instinct. Okay, it's the place where the instinct lies, which tends to move into a fear state, right? It can easily move into a fear state. And so we can get into fight or flight if some of the gates in the spleen are activated. Either you have them defined or you connect with them from people that you're around. And I'm not going to take the time to go through all the gates in the spleen, but I encourage you to take a look at that in your own chart and see what is defined, see what the meaning of those different gates are. And if you resonate with any of the places where there may be fear for you in that place, and know that the fear that you have from the spleen is actually something that you can move through with relative ease if you decide that you want to. This isn't a place where the fear is a really good signal that you should not be going that direction or not be talking to that person or not be doing something. In fact, it's something that is left over, it's instinctual, and you should be able to move through it with relative ease. You also want to look at your own emotional solar plexus, because if you have an open emotional center, which I do, then you're in the place where you are taking in other people's emotional energy and amplifying it. And it may be that you are picking up on the fears of other people. Okay, you may be picking up on other people's feeling that visibility is, a dangerous thing. It might not be yours at all. And so you want to take a look at that. You want to see, is this something that you, maybe somebody in your environment, maybe it was one of your parents, okay, or maybe both of your parents, because you're going to receive imprinting from your parents in your open emotional center. And it can condition you in that particular way to feel like visibility is dangerous. So this is another place you want to look in your chart. And if you can pull your parents' chart or your siblings' chart, then you can take a look at how do they overlap and where might some of that resistance or those blocks be coming from. So what can you do? So number one is breathe. Okay, I am a breath worker. And one of the things that we say in breath work is fear is excitement without breath. Because if you think about how fear impacts your body, we tend to get really clutched in, right? We tend to get scared and clutched in. And so if you can breathe, just do one with me now. And another. And one more. You can change your energy immediately with your breath. Obviously, there's a whole practice that goes along with that, but just know you do have it. Your birthright is your breath, and you can, for example, if you're looking at some of the fears that maybe you have from some of the gates in your spleen or from your open emotional center, or that that you know comes from your epigenetics or from other lifetimes, use your breath to help free yourself, because it really is a potent tool. You can, like I said, take a look at the gates in the spleen and your emotional solar plexus. You can bring yourself into present time. All of those different things that I have mentioned so far really have to do with what's happened in the past, right? And so being able to differentiate between what's happening right now, what's happening in present time, and what has happened in the past, being able to create a little bit of a space for yourself between your recognition of what has happened in the past, whether that's your family past, whether it's other lifetimes, whether it's what was happening for you while you were growing up, whatever it might be, that you want to bring yourself into present time and remind yourself that those dangers are not present right now. Okay? I mean, if you take a look around the room that you're in right now, is there danger present here? Right? Or if you think about times when you've, mostly when you've been out, in the world, has there been actual danger there? So it's a good practice to just pull yourself back in. You want to be able to fully embody and command your energy field. Now, this is something that I really work with clients on a lot, and I think is really potent, and breath work is very helpful for fully embodying. But one of the affirmations that I've given to people a lot who tend to pop out of their body, and you might think about this. This is actually one of the Reichian character structures. It's called the leaving pattern, and it's something that people do often when they get overwhelmed or they get scared, and they actually pop out of their body. The thing is if you're energetically popped out of your body, you're not grounded. You're not going to be as strong or as stable as you would be if you were fully embodied and you were taking command of your whole energy field. So there's lots of different practices that you can explore in order to do this, and it's critical because it's kind of like if nobody's home, then you are actually more vulnerable than if you're embodied. So take a look at that for yourself. Look at what your patterning is around that, and see if you can get more fully down into your body, really feel what it's like to be all the way here. And one of my favorite affirmations that I would give to clients who had this kind of experience is, the more I agree to be here, the easier my life becomes. So that's an affirmation that you can take with you and explore how it feels for you. And this will definitely dramatically impact your visibility. You can also act on opportunities that bring you visibility. So I'm going to come back later to talk about strategy and type. But just know now, I'm talking about acting on opportunities that come your way, that you see. This has been a really big change for me as a generator, to be waiting for the opportunities to show up. But I'll tell you, when they do, it's very, very different than if you go out and beat the pavement and try and find them and make them happen. So pay attention to when opportunities show up that can bring you visibility, and take advantage of them to the best of your ability. Of course, you want to ask ask your authority if it's right for you and if this is the right one. But when you do, to go for it. And then you want to celebrate yourself and your successes when you do step forward. Because a lot of times this fear of visibility is something that will dissipate as you take action and as you show up more in your life. Okay, let's all take a big breath. And one more. Okay, key number 2 is to upgrade your thoughts of self-worth and your true value. Your own true value is something that I have worked on with clients for many years. And human design does give us some really key places. This has been a huge learning for me and something that I love to pass on to others, because this is a place that will impact your willingness to become visible, your ability to become recognized, and also it will impact the opportunities showing up in your life that you can then respond to become more visible and to gain more recognition. So we want to take a look at the will center. Most people have their will center open. I do. 7 out of 8 people have their will center open. And this is a place where if you have it open, you may have a need to be recognized. You may feel that you really need other people to recognize you and to affirm your value. Okay, because this is also part of your value. Okay, it is the place of the heart. This is where the heart chakra broke into two, into the will center and then into the G center, right? So it is one of the heart centers, and it is about your own sense of value. And the thing is if you don't have this sense of value or this sense of self-worth, which comes a lot from your G center, we're going to talk about that in a minute, then you can have either a desperate need for recognition or a subterranean need for it. And I know that throughout my life, this is something that has really plagued me until I learned about this. And then I went, oh, it's just my open will center. And I need to develop my own unshakable faith in my own self-worth and in my own true value. And as I do that, more opportunities come to me. So you want to take a look at that. Look in your chart, see if your will center is open. It probably is. And check it out for yourself. And even if it is defined, you may find that it is a way that you're operating against what's potential for you in your will center through conditioning, because particularly for women, we've been really trained to discount ourselves and to not embrace our true value. Okay, then you also want to look at the G center, okay, because the G center is the identity center, it's the center for direction, and it's also, like I said, it's the heart, and it's the center for lovability. So you want to check in this place to see, how is your self-love? Right? The gate 10 is the gate of self-love. And this can be a really challenging and also a really lovely gate, depending on how you experience it. I have this gate defined, and it's in my Saturn, so it's in one of my, places where I've really had a lot of learning to do. And the more that you can foster your own love of yourself, and understand your own lovability, the easier it's going to be for you to become visible and for you to gain recognition, because you're going to be like a beacon of light that is holding onto your value and is holding onto your self-worth, and it will really make you radiate at an entirely different frequency. So take a look at what's happening in your will center and what's happening in your G center, and how those different, whether they're defined or undefined, and what that might lead you to experience in terms of your visibility and your recognition. So those have to do with some of the inner reasons, right? The why you might have some resistance, why you might have some blocks, according to both your conditioning and those two particular centers in your human design. So, but then there are also outer reasons, right? Things that have to do with your relationship to the outer world. And that may have to do with not knowing how to position yourself so that you stand up and you show up and you stand out, okay? And this is just the place where I said, how much business training have you had to be able to do that? If you are a self-employed person, or even if you have a profession or a job, have you ever been trained about how to actually develop visibility and recognition? Even if you work in a corporation, have you had mentorship in that area? Many people never have. So again, it's not your fault if this is the case, but it is your responsibility to get some of the support that you need so that you can learn how to do that. Okay. So key number 3 is how to become an expert in your own field. And this is something that I have really taught a lot. And I want to give you just some key concepts today. And I do have a gift that I'm going to give you, that if you are a self-employed person, if you do have a practice, or you're a teacher or you're a business owner, and you want to learn how to do this, then I have some materials to give you for that. So I want to start out by asking you, are you wearing a modality shield? And I know that sounds a little bit like a contraceptive device, but let me explain what I mean by that. So let's say you're a body worker, or you're an accountant, or you're a human design specialist, or you're a teacher of transformational work in some way. How do you, when somebody asks you, what do you say, oh, I do body work, or yeah, I help people with their accounting, I help people with their taxes, or maybe I I help people understand their human design. Okay, just to use those 3 examples. So those are all, that's what I call a modality shield, because what you're doing is you're presenting yourself with your modality, and it's like your modality is in front of you. Okay, it's like it's standing in front of you, because when you say, for example, I'm an acupuncturist, I'm a body worker, I'm an accountant, I'm a fitness trainer, are you really saying anything about yourself? Right? About about who you are and what specifically how you provide that particular modality. You're not really, right? And so it's almost like you have this shield standing in front of you. And obviously that can contribute to being invisible, people not really getting who you are or why they should work with you. And also, you're not really recognizable. You're just recognizable as your modality, but not about who you really are. So I want to give you a concept here that I have found really useful and a lot of my clients have used, and it actually comes out of my academic background, which is about the authority of experience. And this is something which is actually relatively new. It's come out in the last 40 or 50 years, which is the idea that our experience is something that can give us authority, right? Through our life experience, all the different things that we have learned and come to know, how we've evolved, actually gives us personal authority. And this is something that you can use in order to be able to position yourself as an expert in, a field which is about your own making. So your soul signature is made up of your gifts and talents, which is what you brought in with you. And your human design is actually a great way of being able to identify what your gifts and talents are. Your skills are what you have refined, which you've actually worked on during this lifetime. Maybe you've done trainings in it. Maybe you've gone to school for it. Maybe you taught yourself how to do it. Whatever it is that you have given your time and energy, attention, and money oftentimes to develop during this lifetime. And then your life experience is how you have grown and evolved through the trajectory of your life. You are not the same person that you were even a year ago, definitely not 10 years ago, and not as in your 20s or a teenager, right? You have grown tremendously over the course of your life experience. And I imagine if you're here on the Quantum Alignment show that you have been dedicated probably for many years to your own growth and development. And your life experience has really taught you a lot about specific challenges that you have. Again, that's something that your human design chart can also give you some insights on. But then how you've addressed those challenges, how you've come through to a new understanding about who you are, how life works, how relationships are, whatever it is. There's just so many different things that you've learned over the course of your life. So your soul signature, as I define it, is made up of these different categories. So your human design reveals to you your gifts and talents and your soul curriculum, right? And that's not something we have time to go into today, but you may have already heard about this, right? But your gifts and talents and your soul curriculum, which is what are you here to learn? What are you here to evolve through? And then your soul signature recounts the journey of your soul through your human experience. Right? It's what, I forget who coined the phrase, I think it was Ram Dass, but we are spirit having a human experience, right? And so your soul signature is the signature of what your soul has developed through its human experience, right? It starts with the gifts and talents, but then it takes into account your skills and your life experience. And for this audience, I also want to say, or how have you lived out your human design? I think most of us have lived in opposition to different parts of our human design. I know I spent my entire life living in opposition to my human design. No wonder I burned myself out so many times. No wonder I would get frustrated when I would speak up and no one would listen. Why I had a desire for recognition, even though I became quite well known and had a lot of success, right? So I was living not in alignment with my human design. And so when I come to understand that better, right, it really helps me to understand my soul signature and be able to step forward in a new way. So I want you to know that you really can create your own field based in your life experience and all that you came in with. A lot of times when we're thinking about who we are in our profession, right, in our chosen line of work, and we're thinking about how do we stand out more. It's like, well, what's your field, right? The field of bodywork, the field of accounting, the field of Chinese medicine, the field of human design, right? Whatever, the field of business coaching, the field of fitness coaching, right? We think of those as fields of work, right? And then we're inside of them. But you can actually create a field in which you define what it is. And you do that based on your life experience and all that you came in with. So I want to give you a gift right now. It's called my Discover Your Soul Signature template. And you can get it by going to yoursoulsdesign.com. And you just register it for it right there. It'll take you to another page where you can download it. And then if you want your human design chart, if you don't have it yet and you'd like to get it from me, you can also click there, put in all your birth information. Do give me a few days because it all has to be done manually. So I ask for 4 to 5 business days for me to get it to you, but I'll run your chart and I'll send it to you. And then people who get their chart through me, I also am happy to give like a 15, 20 minute free, look at your chart. And we can look at it, excuse me, in the context of what we're talking about today. Or if you have another burning question, we can take a look at it there. So, that's just another gift to you. One is this template. It's like 15 pages long, and it's got a bunch of different exercises and questions you can use to dive more into your soul signature and how to position yourself as an expert in your own field. So you just go to yoursoulsdesign.com and you can download it there. Okay, so right now, here are just a few pieces that are coming out of that template. So in order to develop this sense of who you are and your value and the skills that you've developed is you want to start making some lists, right? So make a list of all your education, your trainings, your certifications, and the time and money that you've invested in receiving them. You might be really surprised and go, oh my God, I've invested literally, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars in what I've done and years of experience. And we have this tendency to kind of move on, from one time to another and not really pay attention to that. You want to take a look at what do other people come to you for? What do they value about you and marvel that you can do that they can't? So these are some of your gifts, right? And you're kind of, sometimes you might not really value this about yourself because it's easy for you. But like, for example, I'm a very intuitive person. Okay, highly intuitive. I have a lot in the knowing circuit. I have the 57 and the 61. I just have a lot of intuition. It's not something that I really valued for a long time. And I also even suppressed it because it wasn't something that was reflected to me in my family culture. But as I came to understand what it was and cultivated it, turned it into a skill, it is something that people come to me for now. So just think about what some of those things might be for you. And then your life experiences, through which you've grown and transformed. So now that you have an inner knowledge and expertise that you can share with others, right? So I built a successful clarity breathwork practice. And then I also trained breathworkers. And so learning the business of doing that enabled me to become a business coach to people doing work in the healing arts and in the transformational fields. That was something that a life experience that I went through where I learned and I trained, and then I took the time to actually build it, and then I could offer that to others. So think about what that might be for you. Okay, very often people do not fully appreciate themselves, and this is especially true for women. And I just want to ask you, is this true for you? In all likelihood it is, because most people do not fully appreciate themselves. And again, if you have that open will center, that might be a place where you're not really valuing yourself. Or if you have an open G center, you might question your lovability, right? Or you might question your identity because you're always picking up from other people. So know that you're not doomed if you have that. You just need to take the time to find ways to love and appreciate, acknowledge yourself, really, really value who you are. Okay. So again, the will center, the G center, these are the places that you want to look in your design, and you work with a specialist to see, to help unravel some of that. Okay, so breathe, appreciate, embrace your true values. So let's just take a moment, everyone. Let's breathe together. You can close your eyes if you want to. Take a moment of appreciation for yourself. Really acknowledge yourself for the years, decades perhaps, that you have been turning upward to grow, to evolve, to raise your vibration, to become more skilled and more experienced at what it is that you do, what it is that you love, what it is that maybe you provide as your business, right? As your livelihood, or maybe it's something that you love. It's not your business. You have a job and you love your job, but you're actually doing something else, which is really the place where you feel that your true value comes out. Okay. Okay, you want to ask, what makes me different and what makes me an expert? What makes me different and what makes me it makes me an expert? And I will tell you, there is no one out there who has exactly the same soul signature that you do. And there's nobody out there who has exactly the same human design that you do. And the more that you can come to understand and appreciate what it is that makes you you, what it is that makes you different, and then you learn how to bring that out, you can position yourself as an expert in your own field. Okay. Key number 4, I'm just going to see. Okay, good. We've got time. Excuse me. I'm going to take a sip of water. I do want to have time to come back to your question. So, okay. So key number 4 is come into focus in order to be recognized. Now, this is something right out of business training, okay? And you may or may not be familiar with this. This is something that a lot of times the people get stuck on. So I want to just invite you to step into a field of possibilities, be in beginner's mind about it. Don't go down an old rabbit hole that you may have been down before where you feel like, oh, I've never been able to figure this one out and it makes me crazy, okay? Just see if you can receive this information and see if you can allow it to open yourself to new possibilities and new opportunities for you to become recognized. Okay, so you don't need to be known, like you don't need to be famous. You don't have to already have, a platform. You don't already have to have, tens of thousands of followers on Facebook or on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. You don't have to be known in order to be recognized. But you do need to come into focus in order to be seen and recognized. Okay, you need to come into focus in order to be seen. And being recognized is about your people. It's not about you. Now, this is a 180-degree turnaround from what most people think. Most people think that in order to become recognized, I have to be really good at explaining exactly what it is that I do. I have to be able to help people understand, all of the different nuances. I have to explain to them what the processes are. I have to let them know what the philosophy is and all of that. And actually, it's really not true, because most people are never going to know all of that. And frankly, they don't really care. Like, let's say you're a body worker. They're never going to want to know all of the different information that you've learned about body work. They want to know, how am I going to feel differently after I come to you for a session, right? Same like if you're an acupuncturist. They don't really want to know all of the different meridians that you're looking at and what's going on with your organs and, what are you feeling in your pulses. I mean, occasionally you might have a person who wants to know some of that, but they're never going to, learn all of those things for you. What they want to know is, what is the transformation they're going to experience by working with you, okay? And when you can understand what some of the pains, problems, and issues are with your ideal people, okay, then you can speak to that and you can help them to understand what can be some of the outcomes and the results that they can experience in working with you. When you do that, when you can speak to your people about them and about how they're going to feel different, how their life is going to change as a result of working with you, how they're going to go from how they're feeling now, what's going on in their life right now, what are the challenges that they're experiencing, what are the patterns that they're still in, whether, the relationship that isn't working, their money problems, whatever it is, right? And how you're going to help them get to a place of experiencing what they want, right? Whether that's a great relationship or a new relationship with the right person, whether that's having a full bank account, whether it's having vibrant health, being able to sleep well at night and wake up in the morning being refreshed, whatever it is, when you can speak to them about that, you create what I call a "that's me" moment. Because then they go, oh, she's talking about me. Oh. And then they get interested. You become recognizable to them as somebody who could potentially help them. Like at the very beginning of this presentation today, I said to you, do you ever feel lost in the crowd? Do you ever feel like the best kept secret, right? No matter what you do, you're not getting the visibility and the recognition that you know that you deserve and that you long for, right? That is speaking directly to the people for whom this particular presentation is right. So that's an example. And if you don't do that, if you say, for example, well, I practice 5 different kinds of body work, or, I'm a fitness trainer, and I have, I'm a triathlete, and I've been able to really transform my body, right? Something like that. If you don't talk to them about what's possible for them, what you'll get is a "oh, that's nice" response. Somebody asks you what you do, and if they kind of look at you and go, "Oh, that's nice, oh, that's great," but then they don't ask you a follow-up question, they don't want to know more about it, chances are you've talked more about yourself or your modality and your modality shield than you have talked about them. Okay? So let's take a moment, take a breath, see if that's stirring up anything for you. Okay, so you want to pay attention to them. You want to ask and listen carefully to what your people say. What are their troubles? What keeps them up at night? What are they longing for? Speak to them in their own language about what they care about so that they can hear you. So this does require you to have conversation with people who are either have been your clients or your students or are potential, like, oh, that's exactly the kind of person I would love to work with. You need to ask them questions and listen carefully to what it is that they say about, and then use their language to speak back to them. You want to be able to create a bridge between your expertise, right, which is based in your human design and your soul signature, and their situation so that they can recognize you. You can come into focus for them. You're not just somebody who has a modality that you say you can offer. You're someone with deep skills, tremendous life experience, incredible gifts that you've brought in, and you know exactly how to bring those together in whatever the work is that you do to help them get the transformation that they're looking for. Okay, let's take a breath. I know that was a big one, and there is some information in that template that I've given you around that, and this is something that I'm really good at working with clients on, so if you want more support, just let me know and we can take a look at that. Okay, key number 5. This comes really out of human design, and it is probably, this along with strategy, are the 2 biggest things that I've gotten from human design. So if all you do is take away these today, it'll be huge for you. It's just to pay attention to right timing, okay? And in order to do that, you need to use your strategy according to type and use your authority, okay? Pay attention to right timing. It's so big, and when I think about it, it's obvious that, timing is everything. And yet I know in the different professions that I've had and the different businesses I've built, I didn't really think about that. I thought I was the one to make the timing happen. I am here to make this happen. I am an Aries sun in Western and Eastern astrology, and that has a lot of initiatory energy in it, right? That's what I thought. I should initiate. But what it led me to do was to create things not at the right time, to speak up at times when it wasn't the right time and nobody listened. I felt invisible. It led me to, saying things that were not the right thing to say because it wasn't the right time and I wasn't as fully prepared, and no one had actually asked me maybe to share. And I have an open throat, so I blurted out things at times, and it wasn't the right timing. So let's look at this a little bit. So you want to look at your own strategy, what type of strategy you have. So it's going to depend on what your type is. So for all generators, whether you're a pure generator like me or a manifesting generator, your strategy is to wait to respond, okay? And this is really not something that I practiced at all. I didn't wait at all, and I definitely didn't wait to respond. Excuse me. Okay, but as I've done it, everything has changed. It's become so much easier and much more sustainable. If you're a projector, your strategy is to wait for the invitation until you are invited to participate, or you're invited to speak, or you're invited to teach, or you're invited to give a workshop, or you're invited to mentor a client. And so it's about being able to create your own sense of self-worth and of true value, really own your lovability, right? All of those things. When you can generate that and amplify that, then that is something that that other people are going to feel, and they're going to invite you to respond to them and invite you to work with them or to tell you more. So it's all about being able to develop, like I said, so much of this is an inside job. It's being able to really develop that sense of yourself. For manifestors, only 8 to 9% of the population, you are designed to initiate, and your strategy is to inform before you act, okay? Because it's one of the ways that you can avoid anger from other people when you just go out and do something and you didn't tell them about it, right? Personally, I've had relationships with different manifestors, and in my relationship with them, it's not about necessarily asking permission, but it is about having a conversation sometimes. Because if you're in relationship with somebody, you want to be able to take account of who is in your impact field, right? Who's going to be impacted by what it is that you do. And I think that manifestors can have an easier time by looking at who's in their impact field, right? Who's going to be impacted, and taking them into account and informing them, or even having just a conversation that says, hey, I want to do this. I'm thinking about doing this. I just want to let you know. And do you have any thoughts about it? Right? It doesn't mean that you're asking permission, doesn't mean that you don't have to do it, but it does mean that you're opening up the place of conversation, and it will keep your relationships healthier. That's my personal advice to you. And then if you're a reflector, which is a small portion of the population, about 1%, I do have a really good friend who's a reflector, actually 2 good friends who are reflectors, and you need to wait for a moon cycle. You need to wait for 28 days to be able to really feel that this is the right decision for you. This is the right thing for you to be engaged in. So these are your strategies. I'm not going to go into the different authorities. Again, this is something that you can get working with a human design specialist. It's something I'm happy to help you with if you'd like. But the only other thing I want to throw in here is that if you are emotionally defined, then all of these are going to be mitigated by your emotional wave or your emotional cycle. And so you need to be checking in about responding either to an invitation or to opportunities that come up, or if you're a manifestor, to slow down and pay attention and just see, over time and through your wave, is this the right thing for me to act on? And reflectors won't have this because they don't have an emotional center defined. Okay, so that's the other caveat to this, but really connecting with your authority. So I'm a pure generator. I can have instant knowing in the now when I ask my sacral, or so I'm asked questions, sacral questions. And so I can make decisions that way, but when it comes to acting on opportunities, I need to wait for them to show up in my outer field. Okay, very similar for projectors. Okay. So there may be some places where you are feeling pressure to go ahead and move forward not using your strategy. Okay, and one is from the head center. If you have an open head, and 7 out of 8 people have an open head center, I know I do, you may have the pressure to share your ideas if you have an open ajna. Then because if you have a defined head, you may have an open ajna. If you have a defined head, you're going to have a defined ajna. You can have an open head and a defined ajna, but not the other way around. So just look to see if you have an open head, and you may feel pressure to share your ideas. You may also feel pressure from the other end, from the root, right, which is about getting things done. I need to get things done. I need to get things done. And so you want to take a look at this. And if you have the kind of underlying belief system that says, well, I need to, get everything done before I can do anything for myself, right? That can burn you out and wear you out faster than anything you can imagine, because you're just always driving. So if you have that pressure coming from above or down below, you just want to know that that's energy that's coming into your system through your energy centers, and you don't have to just react to it and move forward without using your strategy. Okay. The throat center, I said, I have an open throat. Actually, most people have a defined throat. I'm like 1/8 of the population have an open throat. So I can have a tendency to blurt or to, go on about something. I've learned more and more in my life not to do that, and human design has really taught me why. But it also, you can have, if you have a defined throat, you can feel the pressure to manifest and to express yourself. But even then, you really want to look for right timing, because nobody really likes it when somebody comes, even a manifester comes and starts, giving you advice or telling you what to do, or even, telling a lot about yourself, right? It's not really something that people like to receive. So again, you still want to look for right timing. So in order to be recognized, it's always a good idea to either wait to be asked or to ask for permission, like, I have something to share with you. Would you like to hear it, right? Before speaking up or giving your opinion. It's just always a good idea, regardless of what your type is. I think it's something that will ensure that people are ready to hear what it is that you have to say. If you ask permission in that way, all of a sudden you can become visible to people in a different way. And they're like, yes, I'm recognizing you. I'm seeing you. I want to hear what you have to say. Or if they're like, you know what? No, right now, I don't have the bandwidth for that. But later, okay, let's check back later. But then you'll know, and then you won't blurt something out and then either annoy somebody or just have them walk away or feel invisible, feel like you have that bushel over your head. Okay, so your 5 keys to greater visibility and recognition: identify and clear the inner blocks and resistance to visibility, upgrade your sense of self-worth and your true value, become an expert in your own field, come into focus in order to be recognized by speaking to your people about what matters to them, and pay attention to right timing. So I'll take a big breath. You create income when you embrace your true value and share with others in ways that they can recognize as significant to them. Okay? When you can share with others in ways that they can recognize as significant to them. And you create impact when you use your soul signature to help others evolve and create what they want in their lives by being able to utilize your gifts, talents, skills, and life experience and everything that you've gathered through this rich and miraculous life. And you can use that to help other people involved in their lives. So again, I just want to end with an invitation to you to go ahead and get my Discover Your Soul Signature template. It's totally free. All you need to do is register by giving me your name and your email, and then you'll be redirected to a page where you can download the template, and you can also register to get your human design chart from me if you don't already have it and you want it. And as I said before, I'm happy to do just like a brief reading for you for free, 15 or 20 minutes, just to give you a snapshot on your human design, like to know your type, to know your strategy and your authority, just even the things that we talked about and some of those centers that we're looking at today and how they might be affecting you. I also do foundational readings. I do a variety of different human design readings. I also have Living Your Design coaching programs where we use human design and work over a period of 5 to 7 months, really being able to live your design. Often I bring in material from your soul signature into that. I also do breath work and help people with their soul signature in my Your Soul Design program. So there's a bunch of different things that I do, and I will share some of that with you, if you go ahead and register, and I'll let you know about opportunities for that. Okay, so I'm going to move out of this, and I need to stop sharing. Okay, here I am. Wow, that was a lot of info, everyone. And I am going to be super interested to go back and take a look at everything that you said here. But Cindy, do we have some questions or particularly great comments or anything we want to highlight? Thanks everybody for being here and hanging in through that.
Well, we had a couple of questions, and then there was a lot of comments, as you were saying.
Great.
So Karen asked here on Zoom, do techniques of this training also apply to projectors? Can projectors use all these things that you were talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. According to your strategy, absolutely. Yeah, because no matter what your type is, your ability to really radiate and attract is going to be based in, your sense of your own self-worth, your sense of your own value. I mean, it's even more important for projectors because projectors need to wait for the invitation. And those come even less frequently than the things to respond to that generators have. I mean, generators have relatively more opportunities to respond to than projectors do. So it's even more important for projectors to really get the value of who they are and what they can provide to people so that they are radiating it so that other people will be like, wow, I want to find out what's going on with that person. I want to invite them to share with me. So yes, in fact, it's even more important for projectors. Great question.
Dr. Serena said, how can we get in touch with you? If they go to Your Soul's Design, do you have a contact me form or your email?
Well, actually, you can just email me if you want. I'll put it in, actually, I'll put it in. You can just email me if you want, and it's Ostara at Ostara Experience. Oops. .com, Ostara at Ostara Experience. So you can just email me there. I'm happy to connect with you. If you'd like to be on my email list, and of course you can unsubscribe at any time, you can just go get the template, and it'll also help you see, some ways in which I work. I want to just let you know that you can use that template in any way you want. You can use it as a launching pad for you just to think about things, or for you to do drawing, or for you to do collage, or for you to work with colored markers, or just contemplate, or speak into your voice memo on your phone, or whatever. You don't have to fill in the little blanks if you don't want to, but they are great questions for you to be able to start creating lists and for you to start really getting who you are, because your human design helps you understand certain aspects of who you are, right? It's an imprint of, where, what the cosmic energy was coming in through the solar system and all the planets at the moment of your birth and in 88 days prior. And then you can understand also about your conditioning by looking at your open centers and gates and channels and all that. But it's through your soul signature that you can start to really get about your skills and your life experience. So when you put them together, it's a super dynamic way of getting to know yourself. Okay.
We're coming up at the top of the hour. Many people were saying, Larry says, perfect for reassessing my next stage in growth and stability. Karen, this was so great. Thank you. Great presentation. Ike said, thank you very much for the stimulating talk. We did have one other question, and this is,
okay.
They wanted to know if you were going to make a slide handout available to them, or is all the information also included in the template that you have on your website?
I can make the slides available to you. I'm happy to do that. I know usually Karen does. Doesn't Karen usually provide slides?
She usually provides a slide handout. So
yeah. So I'm fine to do that. I'll get it to Cindy and she'll post it however that usually happens.
Well, we'll post it both on the Facebook and on the replay page, which is on the blog.
Okay.
And Carol, yes, there's a recording of this talk. It will be here. It will be up on Facebook like 10 minutes from now. And then it'll be up on the blog probably tomorrow. And Karen will be sending out a replay email. The other way that you can, if you, Maggie also has a specialist page on the quantumalignmentsystem.com website, which also has your email. And so that's another, if they forget what your email address is, that's another way, but we'll be including on the replay page both where you can get the template and that.
Yeah, and I mean, ostaraexperience.com has some information about, the mentoring that I've done for years. It's really a pre-human design website, but there's also a contact form on that website if you want to, or like I said, you can just email me directly at Ostara, O-S-T-A-R-A, at ostaraexperience.com, and it'll come right to me, and I'm happy to talk to you. I'd love to, actually, yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, and thank you, Cindy, for all that you do. You were just such an incredible support.
Well, thank you. And again, the recording will be available on the blog probably by tomorrow morning. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.